Lack of black people. Stanford, where are the black and brown people? Everyone is so smart, and a lot of the time you feel like, who the hell do I think I am coming to Stanford? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad to be back and making another video. I thought I would come and do a chatty video because I love watching chatty videos, and I think I want to make more videos that I actually like watching. So yeah, I am gonna do a chatty video today about my first quarter at Stanford. Like, I cannot believe that the quarter is over already. I moved to California, to Palo Alto in August, right at the end of August, and yeah, it's been a crazy 2.5 months ish. Yeah. So we're just gonna get into like what my experience has been like, and just moving and everything that comes with, you know, graduate school, but also moving countries, moving continents, as well as, you know, just the transition of a big life change, you know what I mean? So you guys can sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Okay, so expectations versus reality. I don't know what I expected from Stanford. Yeah, I don't know what I expected, but it was different when I actually arrived. What I expected and what actually happened, and what actually what it was like there was different. And so yeah, I think I had assumptions about American life because I had visited America before. The US, my sister lives in Texas, so I had stayed with her for 2 months, but I was mostly in the house, didn't really get out much, so wouldn't really say I lived in the US. I visited for like between like 3 weeks and 2 months basically, but it has always been like with family during holiday time, so you don't really get out much, you don't really talk to anyone other than family. And so this was my first time moving to the US and living in the US, especially living away from family and by myself. So yeah, I had assumptions about what coming to California would be like, about the weather, about the people, and there have been good surprises and there have been bad surprises. Generally, it's been a good experience, but it's been an experience. It's definitely been an adjustment and a change, which I didn't expect. I thought that I would move there and just kind of fall into life at Stanford, and actually that wasn't the case. I think I underestimated how much of a change and how much of a challenge it is to move countries and to move your whole life. So just like the logistics, you know, having to set up a bank account, and like, yeah, waiting for like funding to come in while you're studying, and adjusting to everything that's happening while trying to like acclimate to the environment and to the people and culture. And I definitely underestimated that. In the end it turned out fine, but I think if you are moving to a new place for a new school or a new job or something like that, I think the logistics of moving are actually quite they really craft your experience and they really shape your experience. And so if you can try to think of as many things as possible to make that transition as easy as possible, then, you know, do that. But for me, I thought of everything when I moved, but for example, my bank back home kind of just crashed. Their system crashed, and so I wasn't easily able to use money while I was waiting for my funding from the institution to come through. So that was a really big like inconvenience and quite stressful actually. It was also quite a transition because it's not that easy to get around Stanford, like, and the surrounding area. So like getting to a Walmart, getting to a Target, it's not super close by, and so you have to use the bus, which is fine, the Marguerite bus. It works well, but if you don't know it, and especially during summertime when we arrived, it was kind of working on summertime hours, which were less often. And so, you know, I had to use an Uber, but then my card wasn't working, and then it was just a mess. So luckily, of course, I have family in the US, so they were able to help me out. I have friends, they were able to kind of help me out with that stuff. But you know, just stuff like that. You think you've thought of everything. I had set up my bank to work in the US, and then the bank website itself crashed, so it didn't really make a difference. In addition to that, someone very close to me fell sick while I had just arrived, like a week after I had just arrived at Stanford, and that was very difficult because, you know, you want to be with, it's like this big change is happening, this exciting time is happening, but also back home a lot of things are going wrong, and so that made it difficult. It made it a bit of a difficult transition, and yeah, that made it quite hard, and I really missed home and wanted to be with that person and give them the support that they needed, but I couldn't because I was at Stanford. Also, just like keeping up with 2 or 3 lives. Because I was based in Cape Town before I came to Stanford, but I'm from Zimbabwe, Harare, right? So I have lives in all of these places. Now I'm at Stanford, and trying to keep up with my friends and my family in all these different time zones and in all of these different areas, parts of the world, you know, it was a bit stressful. Again, something that I didn't expect that would be an issue, but then actually ended up being an issue. So it's been important for me to kind of transition, to kind of balance my life where I'm at, which is Stanford, and you know, the life that I left behind in Cape Town and, you know, back home in Harare. So that's something that I didn't expect, and was kind of the reality that I was hit with. I just got notes on my phone, so that's why I'm looking down. So the things that were great are the people, like just amazing people, an amazing community. I found it to be quite a supportive community. The law school specifically, like everyone is really eager to help you adjust and to help you with your academics and help you with like just making friends, socializing. There is a really vibrant like social culture there, so like always events, always things happening, so there's an opportunity to definitely see people and talk to people, and I've just had the best conversations, the most interesting, and that they've just stretched my mind, the smartest people in like that I've met, you know. And so it's definitely been one of my favorite things about being there is the people. The second favorite thing is, and this kind of rivals the first, but it's the food. There is an amazing culture of like serving food at all events, and you can kind of curate what talks you want to go to, like lunchtime talks, depending on what kind of food they're going to be serving. Emails come through all the time, like there's going to be this event and we're going to be serving this and that, and it's amazing. Like as a graduate student, I really appreciate it because it means that a lot of the time I don't have to worry about making lunch. Sometimes I don't even have to worry about making dinner because there's always food on campus, free food at that, and so I really appreciate that about the school. The other thing is the campus, the facilities, the accommodation. I stay in Manga Residence, which is one of, if not the nicest, like graduate accommodation that they have at Stanford. It's beautiful. It looks like a hotel. It doesn't look like, you know, student accommodation. It really looks like an apartment that, you know, you could rent just like privately. There's a dishwasher, which I appreciate because I'm not a fan of dishes, and so I love that. And you know, there's air conditioning, and yeah, like the facilities at the school are like just the best. So yeah, that's one of the great things about the school. And I mentioned this before with, you know, the people, but just the intellectual exchange and the academic challenge. Like I have read so much over the last 2.5 months. I don't think I've probably read this much only during my LLB. I don't think I have read this much in like years. And it's being there the courses that I'm taking and the way that they teach is really focused on like doing readings, giving response papers, writing. So it's just a lot of reading and writing. By the way, I'm a Spills Fellow, so I'm doing a Master's in International Legal Studies. It's actually called a JSM, but it's a master's degree, and it's kind of the prerequisite to the JSD, which is the PhD in law at Stanford. And so that's the degree that I'm doing. We have some core courses, but we also are allowed to take elective courses, and those have just been so challenging in the best ways. A lot of reading, a lot of writing, like I said, which I hated at the time because there was just so much to do always. But I really appreciated just having my mind stretched so much, learning from the other students, learning about the American perspective of law and the Constitution and democracy and the rule of law and all of these concepts, these legal concepts that I have a very different perspective on based on my own legal education and the jurisdiction that I come from. Coming to do a graduate law degree here at Stanford in the US has just opened my mind a lot, and I've really appreciated that. The challenges, which I kind of alluded to initially, but some of them include the culture shock. So again, like I said, I came at Stanford with kind of, ideas about like it being the super liberal space, and it's not. First of all, graduate school and undergraduate school experiences are very different in the US from my observation. For those of us who don't come from the US and who consume a lot of American pop culture and know about the undergraduate college experience being like wild and like parties all the time, and that's not what graduate school is like. It's a completely different vibe. The kind of student is very different as well, and so I think I came in thinking it was going to be like this wild experience, which it hasn't been. It's been very, very tempered. People are quite serious, people are quite focused, and quite, in a sense, very isolated or insulated within their field, within their, classes and, areas of expertise, which has been also very interesting because you kind of are able to engage with people on their research projects and their research interests, which are often widely different to yours. And so, it's just very fascinating to have those conversations. But, that was a culture shock. And also just the politics of the place. I think when you think California, you think it's a blue state, you think, everybody's like left-leaning, and which, actually hasn't been my experience. People are very nice, but I think people are not as open about their political opinions as I would expect, or as I expected. And yeah, so I think maybe that's more of an American thing as well. I don't know, you guys tell me, but just politics is not something that is spoken openly, but they're very hesitant to share their political opinions. Oh my gosh, okay, one of the things that I've really struggled with is the lack of black people. Stanford, where are the black and brown people? That was a shock. Like, I knew that, black and brown people are minorities in general, and more so in, elite spaces, but I don't think I was prepared for just how much of a minority I would be. And so that's been an interesting experience. But it would be nice to have more black people in the teaching staff, more black people in the student body, like just more diversity. There is a huge Asian community, which has been nice to see, because just seeing like brown people is nice. So there's a very It's quite diverse in that sense, but there could be more black people. Yeah, I would like to see more black people. That's just me. And then the microaggressions, which is something that I kind of expected, having lived in Cape Town. Racism and those issues are things that we talk about all the time and deal with all the time, but there's certain microaggressions that I've definitely dealt with at Stanford that were new to me, and we're just like, okay, this is interesting. Yeah, microaggressions in class, from classmates, sometimes from lecturers, sometimes from peers and friends. Sometimes people mean well, but they confuse Zimbabwe with Uganda. They don't know where Zimbabwe is on the map. They don't know where South Africa is on the map. They ask you to make representations for the continent, and it's like, I'm not a spokesperson for Africa, so just things like that where you're just like, which have been interesting. I've kind of taken it with some humor. I think that's kind of the way I've been coping with it. It's just been funny and interesting, but can get quite isolating and quite unpleasant. I think sometimes I started to feel very much, just isolated. I'm the only I think one of two black people in my LLM class of about 90 people, and the only African in a class of 90 international students. And so that's what I mean when I say, the cohort could be a lot more diverse, and the intake could be a lot more diverse. Even of the African American student intake from the JDs, I think could be bigger. But that's just my opinion, and I think that would kind of deal with these microaggressions, and it would lessen the occurrences of certain things that happen within the classroom or even outside of the classroom, because there's just more diversity and people are more sensitive to that diversity. Yeah, so that's kind of the good and the bad. In terms of advice, or just my thoughts overall about the experience of being at Stanford, it's been important for me to find a community. I think finding a community, it took me a while, and it's only been 2.5 months. So finding friends, finding people who are on the same wavelength as you, finding people who are in the same academic path as me has been difficult, because I have a very Africa-focused research interest, which there are not many people, particularly in the law school, who kind of deal with that area of study. However, there is the African Studies Center, which has been amazing for building a community, finding people who just get what it means to move from Africa to the US, and who get what it means to be an African in the Stanford space, both academically, socially, and otherwise. So that's been really good. My scholarship community is amazing. I have some of my I would consider my best friends at Stanford are from the scholarship community. The people I'm closest to are probably from that community, which is great because it's an inbuilt friendship system basically, where I can always be sure that if I feel lonely or just lost or whatever, I need help with anything, there is that Knight-Hennessy scholarship community, which is just amazing. The support system is great there. I think one of the challenges I faced is building an identity within this space, because I was at another institution before I came here, and that was at the University of Cape Town, and I was there for a very long time, almost 8 years. And I knew who I was in that space. I knew what my purpose was. I knew my role. I knew the things I was passionate about in the space, and how I could contribute to the space, and how I could contribute to the community and the environment there, and be a valuable, active member, as a student at the institution. And I think coming from just that much certainty and stability into like a whole new environment where I don't really know where I fit in, who I am, like what I want to do here, how's the space going to help me, how am I going to contribute to the space. Those are all kind of the things that I've been thinking about when I moved to Stanford, and I've just taken a step back and decided, you know what, take your time, like just be here, like just allow yourself the time to just be here, you know, and just slowly it'll happen. Like you will find who you are, and you will find your purpose and your community, or like the little niche spots that you want to fit into, whether it's like student activism, because that's what I was really into when I was at my old university. Student activism was really important to me, and just student leadership in general. And so, you know, now I'm kind of like, do I really still want to do that? Do I want to be that person still, or do I want to be someone else? Do I want to be just the kind of person that goes to class and goes to the library and goes back to my room and does my own thing, minds my business, you know what I mean? And or do I want to be someone who's like heavily involved in everything? And I'm still figuring that out. I've decided that like I have to be patient with myself and patient with other people, and just have to keep an open mind. Self-care has been really important, especially when I miss my friends and I miss home and I miss just being around, you know, like my culture and stuff, like you know, talking to the people that I love, taking time for myself. Going to the doctor has been so important, because like you get sick. Like when I arrived at Stanford, I got a little bit sick. As soon as I feel unwell, I go to the doctor, and I make sure that, you know, I'm taking care of myself, physically and mentally as well. I'm resting, I'm working out, going to the gym, just making sure that I'm pouring into myself, and, you know, trying to be happy, you know, going out with friends. I have had a lot of lunch dates with people, just chatting and getting to know people, picking their brains, you know, debating, discussing things. It's just a beautiful intellectual community, and I've been trying to really tap into that. And then imposter syndrome, or what's known as Stanford duck syndrome, which I think they refer to it as just like everything looks cool and calm on the surface, but underneath you're like struggling to keep up, and like paddling away for your life. And yeah, like that is definitely a thing. Everyone is so smart, and a lot of the time you feel like, who the hell do I think I am coming to Stanford? Who the hell, you know, like what the hell am I doing here, and can I survive this space, and am I good enough? And those are real like things, and they can be debilitating. And I've had moments where that's really been something that like got me down. And I think just small affirmations, looking for small affirmations from loved ones, but also just thinking and reflecting on my achievements, my work. Again, you know, putting yourself in spaces where you can get those affirmations. I have joined the Women of Color Association at the law school, which has been great. I've met some really amazing women of color law students, and other kind of like societies I've joined as well. Yeah, and so that is pretty much it in terms of my Stanford, you know, first quarter experience. I feel like I've grown a lot. I feel like I've grown a lot in the last 2.5 months. I was kind of all over the place with my thoughts and my experiences, but I guess that's kind of a reflection of the actual experience. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a long year in general for me. I've moved a lot and traveled a lot, even before I came to Stanford. So I did arrive at Stanford quite mentally and physically, I think, exhausted, and now I'm starting to feel like myself again. So, which is great, because now I can, you know, really start to to take advantage of the opportunities. And I hope to take you guys along for the journey, and you know, who knows, maybe I'll be there for a few more years after this year. But for now, you know, the first quarter is done, winter quarter is coming up, and I'm excited. Yeah, so hopefully I can vlog that too, who knows. But thank you so much for watching. Do tell me what kind of content you want to see, particularly around, you know, school, graduate school, academic stuff, and I will try to make content around that. In terms of my hair, let me know if you come here for like hair videos as well, then let me know what you want to hear in that regard, or what you want to see about my hair. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming to my channel. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. I think that's it. Bye. Mwah.